You know, every single time you tap or click or swipe or even talk to your device, there's this silent, powerful force in the background making it all happen. You never actually see it, but it's probably the most important piece of software you own. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this invisible manager.
So what do you think it is, really? Is it your web browser? Maybe that game you just can't put down? Or your chat app? We usually think about the programs we're actually looking at, right? The ones on the screen. But the real answer? Well, it's something way, way deeper.
The single most important program on your phone or computer is the one you are specifically designed not to see. It's the operating system. It just hums along in the background, making sure everything else, and I mean everything, runs smoothly, efficiently, and safely. To really wrap our heads around this invisible force, let's use an analogy. Think of your device, your phone, your laptop, as a huge, bustling factory. And right at the center of it all, calling all the shots, is the operating system. It's the general manager.
And listen, we're not just making this up. Our guide for this whole explainer comes straight from the Bible on this topic, the textbook Operating System Concepts. This thing is basically the master blueprint for how all these digital factories get run.
So the book gives us this very formal definition. The operating system is a resource allocator. It manages everything from your processor's time and attention, that's the CPU time, to all the available workspace, which is your memory. Kind of sounds a little abstract, doesn't it?
Yeah, so let's just bring it back to simple terms. The most important thing to remember is this. The operating system is the general manager of the factory. It's the boss. It decides who gets to do what, when they get to do it, and where. It's in charge of the whole shebang.
Okay, so what does this general manager actually do all day? Well, first and foremost, any good manager has to be an amazing multitasker. And its biggest job is juggling all the different tasks you throw at it, all while managing the very limited space inside the factory.
Now, in the official language of computer science, any program that's up and running is called a process. That's the technical term. It's the basic unit of work that the OS has to deal with.
But in our factory analogy, it's so much simpler. A process is just a worker. Your music app, that's a worker. The program checking your email in the background, another worker. Hey, even that little blinking cursor in your document is a tiny worker with a job to do.
So our general manager, the OS, has two absolutely massive jobs. First, it has to schedule who gets to use the main machinery, that's your CPU. The OS decides which worker gets to use it for just a tiny fraction of a second before swapping to the next one. And second, it has to allocate all the workspace, that's your memory or RAM, making sure every single worker has a clean spot to work and doesn't bump into the person next to them.
And this just shows that controlled chaos perfectly. I mean, it feels like you're doing a dozen things at once, right? But really, it's just the OS, this incredible manager, switching between tasks thousands of times a second. It creates this perfect illusion of multitasking. It's amazing.
But look, managing the workflow, that's only half the battle. A factory also has to be safe and secure, and that's the OS's next big job. It's the ultimate security guard.
Now, this is a really interesting point, the difference between protection and security. See, protection is all internal. It's about making sure one worker, let's say your simple calculator app, can't just wander over and peek at the data from another worker, like your banking app. But security? That's external. That's about defending the entire factory from outside attacks.
And, oh man, those external threats come in all shapes and sizes. You've got Trojan horses, which trick you by pretending to be useful programs to get inside the gates. You've got worms, which find one little way in and then just spread themselves everywhere. And of course, you've got viruses, which latch onto other programs to do their damage. I know this just looks like a bunch of gibberish, but this is a real and scarily simple piece of virus code right from the textbook. Hidden inside a document, this little script basically tells the computer, hey, go ahead and completely erase your own hard drive. That is the kind of real, tangible threat our invisible security guard is fighting off every single second.
All right, so our manager is a master juggler and a super vigilant security guard. Its final big job is being the master archivist. The OS is responsible for organizing every single piece of data in the entire factory.
And it does this using something called the file system. The best way to think about it is as the factory's giant, perfectly organized warehouse. Every single tool, every blueprint, every memo has a very specific spot, and the manager knows exactly where it all is, down to the last millimeter.
And this warehouse doesn't just store the big, important system files that run the factory. Nope. It meticulously tracks everything, from the core code that makes the whole thing run, all the way down to your personal files, your music, and yep, every single one of your cat photos.
But you know, this incredibly complex job of juggling, protecting, and organizing, it wasn't always this demanding. The general manager's role has changed like crazy over the years. So let's just take a quick look at that history. Back in the 60s, computers were like simple assembly lines, one job at a time. Then by the 70s, we had these huge mainframe computers that needed a manager that could handle lots of users at once. The 80s, of course, brought us the PC, which put a dedicated little factory manager on every single desk. And today? Today that manager is running millions of tiny, super powerful factories inside our phones, our watches, and even our cars.
So here's the bottom line. The role of the OS has totally transformed. It's gone from being a simple foreman watching over one little task to being this AI-powered logistics expert, managing the incredibly complex, interconnected systems that run our entire digital world. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. Your operating system, this invisible manager, is scheduling your tasks, it's protecting your data, it's organizing your memories. So as it gets smarter and more predictive and even more hidden, you've got to ask yourself, who's really in charge here?